What's going on? Welcome to my channel. I am the cover call guy, and today we're just going to go straight into my video. We'll be talking about building my income architecture, how elite dividend income channels shaped my framework for wealth. Are you ready to see blueprint I used to build my personal finance machine? Well, this is my top 10 YouTube channel that I recommend for everybody starting out. Some I've watched for a while, some's current, yeah, these are the channels that help currently and in the past have really shaped my mindset. They still do, but really it when I'm starting out, these were the channels that some older than others, obviously, but really helped me kind of like understand, where I wanted to be, and my investment philosophy. So all right, so my boundaries, I'm a personal disclosures here. Obviously, this report evaluates financial education sources, and it does not recommend specific investment. Again, these top 10 picks are personal and they're mine, okay? And I use these rules to filter out the noise to keep my journey grounded in facts. Number one, I want to get it out the way. This is not a performance ranking, right? I did not pick these channels just because they made a lot of money lately. My list is based on my focus on the process quality, my need for strategic relevance, and my demand for transparency when I watch them, right? So obviously, beating a benchmark in a bull market is usually just about high risk, not actual skills. Because in a bull market, everybody is a genius. Okay, and second, not a security endorsement. Obviously, if I mention names like SPY, QQI, ARK, or SHD, right? Listen, this is not me telling you to buy them. You have to look at your own risk level and what your taxes look like. Don't follow me or just anyone else blindly. Obviously, I'm gonna give you my top 10 picks that I've been watching for a while. That I use them to learn as a learning source, right? And kind of using them to critique my own investment philosophies, because obviously, having other people talk about good or bad about your picks makes you a better investor. That's why I always say in the comment section below, rip me apart on all my other videos. That way it makes me a better investor. Right. And number three, no substitute for my due diligence. Right, these channels are my educational resources. They help me learn, but they do not do the work for me. Right, my personal detail matters. Right, I have to look at my own specific tax background, my own current age and time horizon, and my own retirement goals. All right, and number four, no guarantees of my income stability. Obviously, I look for methods to keep my paychecks coming, right? Nothing is immune to a total economic crash. I always have to remember, I always look at historical data, right? Global dividend decline in 2020, right? Some sectors even saw 50% cuts. So when you think about these things, especially on these channels, right? At the end of the day, we are content creators. That's how you should view us. Don't look at us as a more than anything else than that, right? At the end of the day, a lot of people make content, right? And you have to dissect that yourself on what is actually, true, and what, you're holding these YouTubers accountable, right? On by yourself, not just, hey, you said this, but it didn't happen. Well, of course, right? None of us here is going to be able to guarantee anything here. All right, like I said, this is the fifth point is to watch out for creator bias, right? I want you to remember that creators are part of the content machine, including myself, right? A lot of us, well, I'm gonna say not really me, but the bigger channels does face pressure to be sensational for views, right? Every creator has their own lens, and you yourself, you have to filter the hype from facts. You know me, I don't have any sponsor, nor do I care for any sponsors. I just make the videos based on my YouTube goal and how I can reach there better. And I'm going to say my piece. I'm going to say my part, good or bad. All right. So how do I pick my top 10 picks, right? How did I end up, picking these top 10 as like my favorite YouTubers to watch and for my investing, my income investing journey, right? I'm going to say 25% is the strategic relevance. Obviously, applications to income durability and distribution logistics. Another 25% is outcome validation, right? Auditability of performance and lived retirement data, right? I actually want to, if they're talking about living on it, I actually want to see some proof of living on it, right? And their intellectual rigor, right? That's big chunk, 20%, right? Adhere to academic research or formal valuations. I want to actually see them put these formulas to the test, right? And or show us or break it down, right? Like break it down to how a beginner would understand. And 15% of it, right? Process consistency, right? I want them to adhere to repeatable methodology across cycles. I don't want them to just be like, oh, it's a bull market. Obviously, I was a genius, right? And they do nothing in the bear market, on a dip and a crash. They get scared. They panic, right? So we don't want that. We want to see their process consistency. All right, so let's talk about income architect. This is Brad, right? So what he does really well is that he has really good understanding of structural yield engineering. This is my opinion. I just want to put it out there. This is my opinion. I think Brad provides a framework for high yield durability through the 3 pillars. All right, and he has really good analytical strength, right? So he systemized incomes by integrating BDC, CEF. He talks about everything, basically, the whole income spectrum into a very cohesive machine, and he breaks it down. What really attracted me to him was that he was, the interviews, right? He was able to pull interviews and just really, if he's watching this video, if there's one thing that I would want him to do is to give harder hitting questions to these, the CEOs. That's all I ask. I think everything else he does really well. And I really like it. Like, he gives very informational, breakdowns. The video he talks about the whole, good, the bad, the ugly. So that's what I really like about it. All right. So what is his 3 pillars? The income factor detail here. He targets a specific 8% spending yield while reinvesting any excess. I think he talks up to like 20% to maintain purchasing power, right? So, he has the same philosophy that I have. And I was like, okay, then, someone who's, I think he's already retired, he's already reinforcing that, right? So treat your dividends as industrial output, right? I access my money without selling shares, right? I have strong philosophy in that. You do not want to ever sell your shares, right? I don't think that's a good way to live throughout the retirement. And I think he talks a lot about SOR, right? Sequence of returns, right? That is a huge risk when you are entering retirement. And I think he's already retired. So that is going to be a huge issue for myself when I want to retire within 3 to 5 years. And so I'm seeing him put, this philosophy and practice to work. All right. So how does, why did I choose Brad? Because of his influence on my journey, right? So I want to put this out there because Brad was actually the reason I actually started this YouTube journey and wanted to document it. So Brad is the reason I actually started transitioning into the derivative income space, right? So the alignment here from him is that distribution phase 60 plus and late transition 50 plus. I agree with a lot with Brad, but I do have to keep in mind when I watch his videos that he does have like 3 decades over me in age. So as much as I believe in his philosophy, his thesis, and his outlook, I have to remember that, he's buying this, because it fits his lifetime, goal. Because he's already retired, I believe. He's not very close to. I think he's retired. The last time I was watching his video, he was already retired. So yes, as I'm entering the retirement, or I'm planning to, I do have to realize that he has 3 decades over me. I think he's in his 60s, right? Late 50s, early 60s, I think. Sorry, Brad, if I got it wrong. But I'm in my early 30s, right? So if I want to retire within 3 years, I'll still be under 40. If I want to retire within 5 years, I'll still be under 40. So it's like, okay, he's buying this. Can I buy it myself? And, I'm going to put it through the scenarios and the tests and be like, okay, in a bull market, it does this. In a choppy market, it does this, right? The sideways market, it does this. In a bear market, it does this. How would it be in 1, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years? It's still pretty good. It holds up. In 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 3 scenarios, okay, I think this is a great buy. I think Brad has a good pick. I think it would fit my portfolio. So that's how I gotta see it too, right? So you never want to buy something just because someone else has it, right? Because again, I don't think a lot of us are at the retirement yet. At least my subscribers and my viewers. Some of you are. I know some of you are. You mentioned it. Hey, hope you're living a life. But I think a lot of us, I would say probably like 80% of my subscribers and viewers are not retired yet. We probably have like another 3 to 10 years, hopefully less, of course. But yeah, you got to keep that in mind. So that's when I watch his videos, I do keep a lot of these things in mind, that we do have a huge age gap. All right, so let's talk about the Dividend Dream. I've been watching her for a while now. She has really, really influenced me in the dividend growth journey before I really started to transition into the derivative income space. So, at least this is my opinion again. I think what she does really great is strategic function, right? So she has a very good psychological ownership discipline. I think she is great in that, right? She focusing on corporate fundamentals to transition from price obsession, and she's really good at differentiating edge. And what that means is just reframing market drops as reinvestment accelerators. I mentioned that a lot too, right? If you're holding great quality index funds, stocks, ETFs, whatever it is, CEFs, whatever it is, if you're holding quality companies, right, quality cover call income ETF stocks, buy the dip, right? Why would you not want to buy on sale, right? So, she does a lot of like stop looking at the fluctuating price and start looking at, is it growing profits? Is it an actual strong income contender, right? If it is, then you never want to sell it. You never want to not buy the dip, right? You want to be able to separate the emotions. Right, so my behavioral edge with watching a TDD. Right, so TDD, I look at her in the way that she's like my YouTube psychologist, right? Joking but not joking, right? So I want to say that at least a lot of her videos educate me in a way that keeps me grounded emotionally. She gives a lot of good tips, right? So she uses the dividend yield theory to find bargains, and she compares yield stocks to its historical average. So the question is, when the market drops, do you see a disaster or sell, right? She teaches you to learn to see a sell, right? Teaches you that market drops as a bargaining hunting opportunity, and you should always be looking for opportunities, and it gets you into that mindset, right? Obviously, if you're experienced, and you already know this, but from a new investor standpoint, and for those who haven't been experiencing a true bear market, because these dips have been happening. These are like tiny little drops, tiny. Everybody's panicking, right? And this is where you go, oh, this is where it goes. This is nothing, right? So she teaches you to ground your emotions. All right, so the dream's alignment with my path. Why do I like watching her? Because of strategy failures, right? Teaches you prolonged dividend freezes decades over, or secular declines in earnings growth across large cap value. The alignment here is that I think she's in her 40s, right? So she's kind of in that transition phase where I'm gonna be already like hitting. A decade is we're like about a decade apart, right? So she's pretty much in my I would say she's my peer, right? I don't think it's a big difference, but not really, right? I think she's already retired, and realistically, right, I might try to replicate her work once I'm officially retired, right? She might be closer in portfolio, how I would mirror it, like what she's buying, what she's doing. Like I might try to mirror that, because our age gap, right, is not that too far off, and I believe she's already retired and actually like putting the money to use. I think so. I could be wrong, but the last time I checked, a few days ago, before putting up my research and making this video, she was already retired. I think she does her own option strategy. I don't think she does cover call ETFs like she buys. I think she does her own option plays. So she's smart. What can I say, right? Obviously, I want to mirror that. All right, and then the GenExDividendInvestor, one of my favorites again. What he does really well is strategic functions of the retirement execution reality. I think he's actually showing you how it's supposed to be done. Like he's showing you it's doable, it's manageable, and you can actually retire off of this. I think he's managing a seven-figure dividend portfolio and active retirement. His analytical strength is addressing logistical like tax efficient withdrawals and managing a portfolio without a salary. So that's what I really like. He was one of the first channels I subscribed to, and started watching. He was the one that was really like seeing it actually being put to work, right? I have the slide here. So Gen X was the very few I've seen kind of put the money into action to live and really solidify my reasonings of getting out of that rat race. Like, so he really influenced me in that view, thinking, oh man, I can get out of this corporate rat race. I believe he made a video about funding a $75,000 roof replacement entirely from dividends. I'm not sure. I think it was, I have to find it again. I could be mistaken with the numbers here. And then verified monthly income statement and retirement. So he really put his real life example, right, help stress test my own retirement spending plan. So he's like giving me that blueprint, but like, okay, this is how much I possibly need. This is how much I kind of need to, you know, if I own a house and stuff like that. So I like seeing that real world evidence being put to the test. All right, and then Ben Felix, right? So what he does best is empirical counterweight. So he's the counterweight to my investment philosophy, my entire portfolio, and the way I even, and my whole existence, right? So he's the economic skepticism towards income-only strategies via evidence-based finance, right? His analytical strength is that he's utilizing mathematical rigor to explain asset pricing theory and factor-based modeling. Now, he is my reality check, right? So Ben gives really good points, right? Though I don't think the income or cover call ETF community does give him a lot of hate, but Ben, right, has actually helped me because he educates me in a way that I criticize and challenge my own investing beliefs, right? You cannot surround yourself with a whole bunch of yes men. You will 100% fail that way, okay? So watching him, I learned that returns are driven by size, value, and profitability factors rather than dividend policy, right? This is essential for my accumulation phase, okay? I use Ben to make sure my beliefs are challenged so I don't fail by being biased, okay? Keep your friends close, but keep your haters closer. Just kidding, right? I love Ben. I love watching his videos because he gives you a second view, right? If you're only gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm doing this because it's, you know, my due diligence has shown me this way, but of course you're gonna be biased towards your own. You don't want to think your own holdings suck. Of course not. You know, Ben is gonna tell you that, right? So you gotta always keep a Ben around. So that's why I love watching Ben. All right, then FastGraph from Chuck. What he does best is valuation enforcement, right? So operationalizing discipline visually by mapping historical earnings to price, right? So this is more of a educational type of channel that I really like watching. It just works your brain here, right? So videos explaining converting abstract theory into actionable visual analytics to detect overvaluation in seconds, right? So I never buy a stock without checking the orange and blue lines on Chuck's graphs. Okay, so my visual safety net with Chuck, just watching his videos. So a lot of case studies like Walgreens, right? WBA show me that he identifies earnings collapse, right? Saving a lot of people from falling knives if you have watched and educate yourself, right? If price is way above the earning line, I am overpaying, right? Focus on the orange line, meaning PE of 15, right? I like to use FastGraphs to ensure I'm buying profits, not just a high yielding ticker. Okay, so I really love watching Chuck because it's more of a educational, right? It breaks it down one-on-one. You're going back to school, right? The Joseph Carlson show, one of my favorites. Again, I'm pretty sure you heard of all of these. So what Joe does best is public accountability model. He shows you his entire portfolio. I think he uses M1. I don't use M1. If you guys know how I can link my portfolio to M1, I'll do it. I really don't know how to link it. I'm not sure if I have to make an account. I'll find out. But all right, so he shows you, he gives like live updates and pretty much he puts out. I love that. Like, I understand you guys want that from me too, and I'm gonna do my best. But at the end of every month, I think that's more easier that way. But Joe defining transparency through weekly audited views of a large portfolio, right? And audit results teach emotional fortitude required to hold quality businesses through volatility. Joe has proven time and time again that he means what he says, and he preaches and also pretty much executes on what he preaches. That's why I love watching him, right? Because he's not fugazi. A lot of these channels are just fugazi, right? So Joe is not one of them. I've been watching him for, I want to say, a few years, right? A few years. I've been watching most of these channels for a few years, except for like probably Brad might be the newest one. All right, so my commitment to quality, right? So I'm watching Joe. You learn how to hold quality businesses, right? Looking at his story fund performed plus 71% versus by 52% from 2020 to through 2025. So, recurring disclosure of profit and losses results teach me to build conviction in owning the world's best company, right? This is why I watch them. This is my accumulation focus, right? Transparency is always the best defense against making emotional mistakes with my money. Okay, set number 7 is PPC. Ian. Ian is great. I read. He's really funny. I like his sense of humor. So what he does best is longitudinal compounding proof, right? So over 2 decades of dividend growth investing experience. So he's like kind of like the YouTube institutional here. So, and he represents the slow grind by documenting history through multiple market cycles, right? Talk about this, right? 2000s, the bubble pop, the 2008 and 2020. Right, and he has that Doug life discipline with Ian. Right, he's funny. I like watching him. He has a good sense of humor with the way he break things down and explain things. Ian is a Stanford educated executive who treats his portfolio like a business. So I love his discipline of never selling winners for hype. Right, extremely teaches you to focus on long term compounding arc and anti hype mindset through 20+ years of proof. Okay, and then dividend data. I've also followed him on X. Great information. He's always putting out these bangers, man. This guy is amazing. I don't know how he does it. So what he does best is quantitative yield context, right? Identifying objective undervaluation via quantitative yield range analysis. And he also has very strong using 10-year historical yield averages to filter out all of the BS narrative, right? The narrative bias in my stock selection. So he does. He basically kind of like uses a little bit of the SAHD methodology here. He kind of break it down. He's always putting out very educational posts. If you guys are not following these people, you need to be following them because they put out a lot of good tips. Of course, never financial advice, right? Yeah, you have to break it down yourself and make sure it works for you. All right, so my number first filter, right? So teaches you to distinguish between stocks that are cheap and stocks that are fundamentally broken. Two very different things, right? Looking at Novo and VO, right? Visualization signal under valuation when current use exceed historical averages, right? This is active investing phase tool. So understand that you use numbers, not stories, to decide when to add more shares to your portfolio. All right, Dividendology is kind of almost like the same as dividend data, but I think they're two different people. I think. I hope it is, but they're very similar, right? So, what they break down for each channel is intrinsic value modeling and formalizing valuation through dividend discount models, right? DDM and spreadsheets, right? The strength for that channel, I would say, is that it teaches you bridging the gap between retail enthusiasm and professional institutional model math, right? I use this channel to turn a lot of my investment guesses into mathematical certainties, right? Because when it comes down to it, it's really all about the structural, the mathematical play. It's at the end of the day, it's basic math. It's gonna work or it's not gonna work. All right, so it teaches you the valuation formula here, right? V equals next dividend divided by return goal minus growth, right? So using this DDM formula to see how sensitive my valuation is to growth assumptions, right? It is my research phase anchor, and I put a lot of these into my other videos, and I break it down. This is how I come to my conclusion. This is how I kind of take my guesses, right? So I'm like, all right, this is worth buying. Okay, this is not worth buying. Okay, at this price I'll buy, and at this price is way overvalued. I don't think I would get too much out of it, right? So this is, you empower yourself with your own due diligence by learning the math that the pros use. This is it. There is no secret behind this. All right, number 10 is the Money Guys show, right? So these guys are kind of like, I don't want to. I don't want to make it sound bad, but like, they're like the boomer take, right? So I view them as like, okay, these are the boomer take, and how would it compare their not advices, I guess there's not really advice, but their context against mine is like, okay, would their old boomer take philosophy work for me, for millennial and Gen Z right now, right? So what they're good at is putting out structural sequencing authority, right? Enforcing the financial order of operation for stability, right? They're very, very like, okay, don't go crazy, always stay grounded, you know. I don't think they would ever approve of, you know, what I'm doing with a high yield derivative income in my 30s. I think they'd be like, you are crazy, right? They'd be like, go growth. But you know, you always want a different perspective, and they give that different perspective. Their strength is focusing on foundation, stability, emergency reserves, right? You know, the dry powder, employer match, like 401k, and the debt management, right? Right. So they give a lot of good basic financial foundation, which is solid for you on building your income factory. If you want to go down my journey. And then the wealth multiplier, right? They explain their wealth multiplier math, right? They teach me to value every dollar, right? Put your dollar to work, right? They are your soldiers, right? During your accumulation phase, right? $1 at age 20 equals $88 at 65. How do you get that number? Well, assuming 10% returns compounded monthly, it shows why starting early is the ultimate cheat code for wealth. So if you're 18, you're watching my video, hey, you got to get started now. Now is the best time. The next best time is tomorrow. Don't wait, right? I like to use their sequencing to prioritize my dollars so I get the biggest growth possible, right? So again, looking at this matrix, I need to make it clear. This is a general matrix. And why do I say that? Because I think 90% of the people will follow this path. The 10% that doesn't, or you guys watching my videos, subscribers, viewers, people who support the channel, you might not really fit into this. But the general matrix, I'm going to say 90% of the people, accumulation is 20 to 30s, right? Primary focus is wealth multiplier indexing. If you're that person, right? My top three is obviously the money guy, Ben Felix, and Joseph Carlson. And then transition for the 50s, your primary focus, valuation, and yield prepping. Now you're like, oh, I need to soon plan my escape. My top three recommendation is the FastGraph, Dividend Dream, and Income Architect. And then distribution is the 60 plus. You're done. You're living life. Cash flow, durability, Gen X, Income Architects, and Data Dividend, right? You got to change your diet of information as you move from building wealth to spending it, but also keeping it. All right. So these three are currently shaping my mindset. These three are currently kind of having the most impact and influence my systematic architect from Brad, my ownership mindset from Dividend Dream, and my outcome validation from Gen X. So these three are currently kind of giving me my the most influence right now on shaping on my $120,000 income journey and beyond, right? I don't want to stop at $120,000 because obviously with inflation, $120,000 is essentially going to be like minimum wage. It's sad to say, but that's kind of the truth. But these three are currently my influencers, my idols, models. I don't know what you want to say. My YouTuber. I don't know. I look up to these three. I kind of take their take very, very seriously. So if they don't like something, I will really sit. If I own it and they say they don't like it, right? Obviously not personally. They make a video about it or say something about it. I would really, really take a deeper look and be like, okay, why did they say this? All right, maybe I'll have my counterpoint. Say, all right, maybe I agree with them. Maybe I don't agree with them. Right. So these three really right now are shaping my current mind shape. So, all right. Again, these are my top influencers, YouTube top 10, right? Income Architects, right? Structural Yield Machine, Dividend Dream, Ownership Psychology, Dividend Gen X, Dividend Investor, I think Retirement Reality, Ben Felix, Economic Rigor and Factor Theory, FastGraph is Visual Valuation Discipline, Joseph Carlson, Radical Public Transparency, PPCIan, 20-year longitudinal proof and dividend data, quantitative yield context, Dividendology, intrinsic modeling tool, and the money guy is professional sequencing. So these are the top 10 voices that really help me stay disciplined and mathematically sound. I like to watch I try my best to at least watch every single video they do put out because one is educational, two is very informative, right? And three, a lot of them will give you counterpoints that are really relative to what I'm doing right now in my income journey. Right, so thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was fun, creative, informational. I hope it gave you some ideas on if you're not watching or subscribe to these 10 channels. If you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, give me a subscribe, comment, and like. Help me grow this channel of smart investors like yourself, right? And let me know which channel you're already following and which one is your favorite. Or hey, if I'm not following any of these outside of the top 10, maybe I'm missing and you have another great one, leave it in the comments below. I do definitely check out every single one. So thanks for watching my deep dive. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for the support. I really mean that. Thanks for helping the channel grow. I appreciate all of you guys. So if you've watched till the end, love you all. Catch you guys on the next. Stay tuned.